Hello, I'm Hetty Chang. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Attendance Works. Attendance Works promotes equal opportunities to learn and advances student success by reducing chronic absence. We are grateful to be working with waOSPI to improve attendance in Washington. This video will help frame chronic absence and its impact on students so we can begin diving deeper into effective prevention and early intervention. When we refer to chronic absence, that's when a student misses 10% or more of their days on roll for any reason, whether it's excused, unexcused, or due to suspensions. It's different from truancy, which only measures unexcused absences, or average daily attendance, which measures the average number of students that show up each day of school. Chronic absence is a rate of absenteeism or missing school that correlates with students falling off the path towards academic success. We want to share with you the principles that guide waOSPI's attendance supports and programming. First, attendance is foundational to student learning. It's a stepping stone and necessary precursor to engagement and mastery. Second, absences tell us when a student has not accessed or had the opportunity to engage in instruction. Third, absences can reflect inequities that are caused by or perpetuated by our systems. Fourth, absences can signal when a student or family might need more support. Fifth, absences are a signal to get curious about why students aren't attending. And finally, students and families are our best partners to understand the barriers to attendance and how to increase engagement. We know it's important to pay attention to truancy, and we have seen strong results from focusing on a non-punitive approach to truancy prevention. We also recommend taking a chronic absence approach, since those interventions can help remove barriers that lead to absences of all types. And addressing absenteeism requires shifting mindsets, policies, and practices. So what's the difference between chronic absence and truancy? Truancy counts only unexcused absences. Chronic absence counts all absences, unexcused, excused based on the state law and regulations, and suspensions. And historically in Washington, truancy emphasizes compliance with school rules, while chronic absence emphasizes the impact of missed days. Truancy typically has used legal, generally more blaming and punitive solutions, although I want to recognize that this is starting to change in Washington and many parts of the country. Chronic absence has always been about emphasizing prevention, problem solving, and taking trauma-sensitive strategies. It's about cultivating student and family engagement so that families and students are not treated as problems to be solved, but are active in designing the solutions. In Washington, regular attendance declined overall in the 2021 school year. We saw this across all student groups, though some groups were especially impacted. American Indian, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders saw large decreases in the number of students who regularly attended school. And similarly, we saw decreases in regular attendance among English language learners, students from low-income households, students receiving migrant supports, and students experiencing homelessness. And as we will discuss later in this video, it's important to recognize which student groups are experiencing the most barriers to attendance in order to develop interventions that have the best chance for success. Please note, this data is publicly available on the waOSPI Washington State report card, and regular attendance is showing up at least 90% of the school year, missing 10%. The opposite of that is what we've been calling chronic absence. Chronic absence often goes unnoticed because schools are counting how many students show up every day, rather than examining how many and which students are missing so much school that they are at risk of falling behind. We're used to thinking that 90% or 95% is a good mark. But when it comes to attendance, even schools with 95% average daily attendance can actually have high levels of chronic absence. For example, look at the left and the 6 schools represented by the green bars. Each one of these schools had a 95% average daily attendance, but their rates of chronic absence ranged as high as 16%. And now look at the example on the right. Each of these schools had 90% average daily attendance, but their rates of chronic absence range as high as 26%. I've even seen higher at 90% average daily attendance. And when we just focus on truancy, or unexcused absences versus chronic absence, all absences, we can fail to identify a significant number of students who are in need of support. Take a look at the gap between the number of the students at each grade that are chronically absent, that's the red line at the top, versus truant, which is the black line at the bottom. At some grades, half of the students would not have been identified if you just used a truancy measure.
As we know, the impact of chronic absence is cumulative. In the next few slides, we're going to examine why good attendance is so important for academic achievement. We'll start with the relationship between absences and inequity. Absenteeism is a leading indicator. It's the canary in the coal mine that alerts us that an individual student or groups of students are at risk of falling behind, and it gives us enough time to provide support. Absenteeism is also a cause of educational inequity. Gaps that already existed in communities that have been under-resourced have been exacerbated by the pandemic. As we heard earlier, during the last school year, we saw increases in chronic absence rates for specific groups, including American Indian and Alaskan Natives in Hawaii, as well as Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders. English language learners and students experiencing homelessness, among other groups, were also affected. What can we do to address this crisis in unfinished learning? While good attendance leads to academic progress, poor attendance has a number of negative effects. Chronic absence in kindergarten and first grade can lead to the inability to read on grade level by the end of third grade. The inability to read on grade level by third grade leads to lower academic achievement in middle school, and students who do not read on grade level are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. While showing up does not guarantee learning, a student who misses class clearly cannot benefit from the instructional opportunity. If a large number of students miss class, that is an indication of challenges that require systemic solutions. Data on attendance and absenteeism are one of the few data points currently available to assess a student's access to education. Chronic absence is the percentage of students in grades K through 3 that miss 10% or more of the school year. That's 18 or more days in a 180-day school year. Research shows that children who are chronically absent in kindergarten show lower levels of literacy in first grade, and that chronic absence in kindergarten can predict lower achievement as far out as 5th grade. It's easy to overlook the prevalence of chronic absence and think you don't have an attendance problem if you look only at average daily attendance. But in 2012, Rhode Island's 4 core cities had an average daily attendance rate of 94%, but almost 1 in 5 students, 19%, were chronically absent. As you can see, the likelihood of dropping out of high school increases for each year that a student is chronically absent. Focusing on reducing chronic absence can help close equity gaps. Students from economically disadvantaged households are 4 times more likely to be chronically absent in kindergarten than their highest income peers. And children living in poverty are more likely to lack basic health and safety supports that ensure a child is more likely to get to school. The impact of absenteeism on literacy development is 75% greater for these children than for their middle-class peers.
Chronic absence has a ripple effect. More people are affected than we typically consider. Who is affected by absence? A student who misses class?
It's hard when I come back and I don't know what's going on in class. It's like I won't ever be able to catch up. So why even try, you know? I'll probably just drop out like my brother did.
Other individual students.
When other kids miss class, our teachers spend time reviewing the same stuff we learned the day before. It's boring, and then our whole class is behind.
Students working in groups.
We work in groups a lot, like on a lab project or for presentations, and we need the whole team to get the work done. And when part of our group is absent, our whole team suffers.
Teachers.
When students are absent, I need to reteach lessons to the students who missed class while keeping the other students engaged with new material. Often I spend extra time outside of class to help these students. It's not an easy balance. If I'm constantly reteaching instead of covering the new material, how can I cover all the curriculum?
School.
In schools where many students are chronically absent year after year, instruction slows down, achievement drops, and the need for remedial courses increases. The students' academic achievement takes a big hit, and it's costly to the school. In some states, funding is tied to attendance, so chronic absence also reduces the resources for the school.
At my school, chronic absence has a major impact on learning, achievement, time, and money. At your school, where do you see the ripple effects of absence? Select all that apply. Students have trouble catching up after absences. Other students' learning is affected by the absences of classmates. Teachers spend extra time helping students catch up. Teachers have difficulty covering all the curriculum. Overall student academic performance is reduced. School morale and environment are negative. All schools are impacted in some way by student absence. Whether your school experiences a high or low degree of chronic absence, everyone benefits from teaching attendance to students, their families, and the community.
Attendance and engagement is critical to student success, and a multi-tiered system of support is a framework and delivery system for supporting and addressing attendance and engagement. This diagram shows the Washington MTSS framework, which includes the 5 core components of a multi-tiered system of support. They are team-driven shared leadership, database decision-making, family, student, and community engagement, and a continuum of supports also referred to by our team as tiered interventions and evidence-based practices. In order to provide equitable access to education, schools and districts need to put in place a tiered system of supports for students and families. Use attendance data to inform a multi-tiered system of support to improve attendance. Tier 1 represents universal strategies to encourage good attendance for all students. Tier 2 provides early intervention for students who need more support to avoid chronic absence. Tier 3 offers intensive supports for students who face the greatest number of challenges to getting to school. The pyramid graphic shows how the 3 tiers of intervention sit on top of foundational supports. Foundational supports promote positive conditions for learning. Keep in mind that these tiers are additive. A student needing Tier 3 support still needs Tier 1 and Tier 2 and the foundational supports. Positive conditions for learning lead to students being engaged and attending regularly. Absenteeism is a sign that one or more positive conditions for learning are missing. As the graphic shows, relationships are essential. They are at the center. Also, the 4 conditions for learning overlap. Attendance is higher when schools are organized to promote students' physical and emotional health and safety. For example, healthy learning environments that are clean and well ventilated and support physical health. Also, access to food and other basic needs falls into this category. Another is that they promote a sense of belonging and connection, such as active family and student engagement, advisory meetings to build community, enrichment activities and clubs. Schools also should make learning challenging and engaging so students don't want to miss class. And finally, investing in adult and student well-being and emotional competence forms the 4th positive condition for learning. Tier 1 strategies support good attendance for all students. Together with the foundational supports, Tier 1 promotes attendance and engagement and prevents absenteeism. Note that this list does not include good practices such as taking attendance accurately every day or monitoring trends in attendance data. These strategies are actions that improve attendance or reduce absenteeism. Here are a few examples of Tier 1 strategies. Provide clear, consistent, and concise communication about schedules and expectations. Routines, rituals, and celebrations related to attendance and engagement. Personalized communication to families when students are absent. Recognition of good and improved attendance. Impact of attendance on the whole child is widely understood. Connection to a caring adult in the school. And every child and their family is encouraged to develop a success plan that includes attention to attendance. Students missing 10% or more of school need Tier 2 interventions. Here are a few evidence-based early intervention strategies for Tier 2. Common community and school barriers are identified and addressed. These barriers may include bullying, a lack of transportation, food insecurity, or unstable housing. Individualized student success plans that include attention to attendance. For students with disabilities, include attendance strategies in their IEPs. Family visits. Mentors, particularly the Success Mentor model, build relationships and improve attendance. Intensive tutoring. Check-in, check-out. Expanded learning opportunities, particularly high-quality after-school programs that provide enrichment rather than remediation. Small group interventions, for a variety of reasons, including mental health. Restorative alternatives to discipline and suspension. Check out our attendance playbook for more details on evidence-based strategies to improve attendance. If students are missing more than 20% of the school year or are not responding to Tier 2 interventions, consider adding Tier 3 interventions. Here are a few examples, and there are more available in the attendance playbook. Assign students an educational support champion whose role is to work with students and family to provide wraparound services. Interagency case management. Housing stability supports. Student attendant review boards that take a problem-solving approach and provide access to a variety of interventions and services. Similarly, community-based non-criminal truancy courts marshal resources to address and remove barriers to attendance. For many students, individualized learning and success plans that are tailored to their schedules and circumstances help to create a path to graduation. Thank you for joining us as we cover some of the basics of chronic absence prevention and why promoting good attendance is so critical for students. We look forward to our continued work with Washington schools. If you need more information or resources now, please visit our website at www.attendanceworks.org.